I am here partly because we're en route to New Zealand to give a talk about our book there at a design conference called Semi-Permanent. So it gives us a chance to come through Los Angeles and see some of you and talk some of these ideas through. We've had several book launches already because our book was released in April, and yeah, we're doing the world tour, but believe me, it's self-funded, just so you know, in case you had any illusions. And so tonight, I just wanted to talk a little bit about our work at the beginning, because I think a lot of you here probably don't know it and aren't familiar with the breadth of it. And then I'll get to the making of the book, which is really the foundation of what this talk is, because it was a 3-year endeavor to make this book, and it's absolutely a labor of love. So the first thing to say is that we work for many different kinds of companies. This is a chair that we made called Branca for an Italian company, and who had this amazing specialism, 2 specialisms, one in hand finishing wood furniture and the other in very sophisticated robotics. So we really tasked ourselves with finding the best out of those 2 aspects. How to make a chair that was produced with very high technology, have the feel of, it is actually hand assembled. It's all wood, there's not a screw in it. And it's just, it was an exercise in reduction. How little material do we need? How little time on the machines can we take? And how much love can they put in when they hand finish? And the next, we did a 3-legged stool for them as well called Radice. And obviously we didn't design the one on the right, but the one on the left is for a Swedish company called Wästberg, and they do lighting. Magnus Wästberg is absolutely dedicated to finding what kind of light we need, and we asked him, we observed that actually often when we need light, we also need power. So we made a very simple idea, put 2 things together that weren't previously put together before. It's LED light that's adjustable and USB charging. And it's a very odd thing. It took his business in a completely different realm, because people who sell lighting don't sell chargers, and people who sell chargers don't sell lighting. So it's, you think, oh, great design idea, but actually the practicalities are very complicated. And this is, we work a lot with Muji. We've been design advisors to them for many years, and we talk to them a lot about what is Muji, as they constantly redefine that with everything they make. And this was a project to make a coffee maker, and it was based on an observation that kitchens were changing, how we use kitchens are changing, and that it started to be as kind of the era of the island, the kitchen island, and people were gathering around the kitchen island. So products then needed to be 360 degree, and this is a cylindrical coffee maker. It's I think it's the first one actually. And when we proposed it to the factory, because we work closely with the factories, they said, well, we've never done that before. And we said, yes, but is it possible? And so they said they found a way to do it. Essentially the reservoir wraps around the filtration at the top, and it takes up a circular space, and obviously you can see the product is designed 360 degrees, and as well, the carafe is comfortable not just in the appliance, but also on the table. So it's an acknowledgement, it was an acknowledgement to us and for Muji that products are being used in different ways, and therefore the design needs to be different. These are more chairs from Mattiazzi, and a very strange brief, which was a chair that would be comfortable in a church, that could be ganged up and that could be stacked. So where Branca was an exercise in reduction, this is an exercise in solidity and finding a low-cost way to do a chair that stacks 6 high and can be ganged up with a very simple, clip that we designed. This is, yay, an American client called Emeco, which is just a really precious company. They're famous for their Navy chair and for their use of recycled aluminum. And they asked us, they sell chairs, that's what they make and they sell, and they asked us to design a table that would go with all of their chairs. And these are chairs by Stark and by Jasper Morrison, Norman Foster, Konstantin Gritschik, lots of different kinds of chairs. And we looked at the typology of a picnic table in public space. And what we thought about those tables is that the way that they're formed with the planks on the top, it tells us all that there's some kind of democratic way to inhabit these tables, that these tables are actually not owned. And so we designed a table that is made of extruded aluminum, as simple as possible, obviously. I don't think I have to say that out loud. And this was a provocation that we did for the Design Museum in London. It's called Amazin Apartments. We imagined a situation based on the idea of the exhibition, which was for products for elderly, because the elderly population is growing, as we know. We're all healthier and living longer. And so we imagined how might older people be living in the future. And we took there was a few premises. One is that a company like Amazon, who already supplies everything that we consume conceivably, they might, in the end, produce architecture. They might, in the end, produce, why wouldn't they then go and produce the apartment as the receptacle for all the products that they supply? So for the museum, we made just a section of a wall, and this is the back section, and you can see that it's serviced entirely. The premise is that there's a service corridor, and that all of the apartments are serviced from behind the wall. So the older person who wouldn't be burdened with having to change out the machine, or it's broken, I need to service it, or even I'm going to put my washing in and it could be done for me, even to make life that simple potentially. And in exchange, of course, is the collection of data, and that's happening anyway. So we made that apparent by making really sort of dumb screens collect data to signify that. And then the other side of the wall, we imagined what then would the appliances have to be. And in fact, you only really need one button on your washing machine, maybe not even if the sensors are right. And in fact, what do you need to show that there's a fridge, or if your fridge is stocked already from behind? And what do you need for a drinks dispenser, et cetera? So you can see there's a reason then for the reductivism, because in fact Maytag is no longer selling functions to us on the front of their machines. Their R&D isn't being advertised to us by everything we put in our house. It no longer has to happen. It's all happening from behind. So the appliances and the utilities in the apartment then get quieter. And it doesn't mean you have to live like an ascetic. You can live however you want, but it means that the appliances themselves are much quieter. They're not taking up the kind of space that they do currently with all the branding and R&D exercise. It was just a what if question. This is an exhibition we were asked to curate for a biennial in Saint-Étienne in France. And it's a very amazing cultural exercise, this biennial, because a lot of France comes to it. It's visited by everybody. And the exhibition was supposed to be for us to curate, to select objects designed in the previous 2 years, products designed in the previous 2 years that we thought were beautiful. And we really struggled with this idea of beauty. This is called Beauty is Unfinished Business. And we selected the objects that we had noted. Sam and I are often on judges on juries, and so we actually see a lot of things, a lot more than we just consume, which is great. And we designed a pavilion, a kind of partial architecture in which to see the products, so that you could see them on their own, but also in relation to other products. In other words, they admit that there's other things in the world. They're not isolated. And then we hung a rope curtain partway off the floor, as you can see, so that people could weave in and out, because it was literally, this pavilion was in a enormous exhibition space. Okay. So, and then really the premise was to say that the indication that there's an architecture, that there's the indication that there's some spatiality and that there's some context to each product. It should, yeah, that's what it was supposed to provoke. Okay, I'm almost done with these premise slides. Okay, and on the left is a cantilevered desk system that we designed for Herman Miller. We were design advisors to them for a long time, and it took them a long time to ask us to design products, and now we're kind of on a roll with them. This is the first system that we designed for them that was based on the idea of collaboration and how to achieve it in the workplace. So the first thing we wanted to do is free the workplace of all the extra legs that get in the way of height adjustable desks and tables. And we gave everyone a table, a rather large table with a rounded edge, so that literally this is one person's desk, quoting, if it's actually assigned, but about 5 people can actually gather around. And so you don't have that situation where someone's standing over you to look at the work. You can raise it, you can stand at the same height, you can come together. And then on the right, just an idea of how closely we work with their engineers and codes to actually make it happen. This is a chair we recently launched in May at NeoCon, also for Herman Miller, and it was supposed to be, it is actually, it's called Lino. It's a entry-level, fully ergonomic chair, task chair. It achieves for Herman Miller what has until now been the impossible. As you know, nothing is inexpensive at Herman Miller because it comes with either a 50 or 12-year guarantee. This chair comes with its standard 12-year guarantee, and it provides all the ergonomic expertise that's in all their other chairs. But the difference is it acknowledges, we think, the environment that you'll see on a floor plate, any given open floor plan, you'll see many of these chairs. So can they be comfortable with one another? Can they not make too much noise when there's so much noise already on the floor plate? So. And then this is our LED outdoor street or landscape lighting for Santa and Cole in Spain, another wonderful company, small company. And we wanted to bring a more modern and a softer feel to the landscape with super high-tech lights, actually. No glare, it's very technical requirements, but we based it on the idea of the way that scaffolding connects. So we look at a lot of existing conditions and grab something that's useful there. So scaffolding comes together with a really nice clip and pole system, and it meant for us that now the units can be serviced more easily, and that's a real revolution for them. Small revolution. Okay. Now the book. So I'm just going to go through a little bit of a timeline so you all know just how long it takes to do these things. In September of 2014, we had our first conversation with Emilia Tirani at Phaidon, who asked us for a book. She said, you're enough of a mature studio, it's time, and it's time that you think about your work in a certain way, and what would that book be? And we wanted to work, our requirement was that we work with Graphic Thought Facility, which has no relation to us, but except that we've collaborated with them before. They're a brilliant London studio. And we said, our requirement is we have to work with them. And she said, okay, which was great. And we began with Paul Neal of GTF, we began the dissection of what would we include and what should the project actually be. And with the objective to kind of reveal what our process is, which has until now been, I guess, fairly mysterious. It's not mysterious to us, but we don't really talk about it, so it's mysterious to everyone else. GTF and Angela Moore, who's a photographer, were asked to develop a dummy. This is with us as a way to agree what would be the contents of the book. And this is like a sample, having a sample of every page, every type of page that would be in the book. And we started to gather all the things of ours, which we didn't have a complete archive at the time, so we had to grab things from around the world, bring them into storage, put them out on the table, decide what is the kind of point of view, what would be the contents of those books, should it be everything or not? And In August of 2016, contracts were agreed with Phaidon based on the dummy that they liked, thank goodness. And the storyboard, there was a storyboard of a narrative, which I'll talk about some more, that Paul Neal developed, because he came up with an idea to have a visual narrative in the book. So because we write a lot about the work, we wanted to include the writing, but we also wanted the book to be very visual. So if you're a visual person, you can come to the book and see the work without having to read too much, and vice versa. In 2016 of December, conversations between the writers and the collaborators were commissioned, and there are quite a few of them, as you'll see soon. They include Alain de Botton, Noto Fukasawa, Bruce Mao, Sam Graw, Duncan Riches, lots of people that we wanted to talk to and have talk about our work. We were very bad at talking about our work. I'm a prime example of it. And we thought it might be interesting to have collaborators, curators, clients speak about what it is that we do, have them articulate it, and not just us. And the photography with Angela begins in December 2016. In January 2017, Peter Kapos was signed to write the main essay about us. And in May of 2017, photography was finally completed. In January of 2018, the book was completed. And in April, it was launched in Milan. So how do we get to the essence of our work? That was the big question, because once we had a lot of conversations that we wanted to have in the book, we realized we need something to hold all of the thoughts together. And we commissioned a guy called Peter Kapos, who had done an amazing exhibition in London about the Ohm model, and he's a design philosopher. He teaches at an art school in London, and he didn't know our work particularly. He knew our work a bit, but he didn't know us at all. And he embarked on these very psychoanalytic interviews with us over time. Sam only, me only, Sam and I together, and then separately again. We had no idea what he would say at the end of it. It was excruciating in its mystery. He also didn't know what he was heading for, so that made it even more mysterious. It was a leap into the void, I guess. We liked him because he understands the kind of power of how things that are built by people, how they fit into our cultural identity, how they identify us, what they say about us, and he understands the system of production, of sales, of communication, and of consumption and disposal. He just has a really unique synthetic point of view. Let's see if this will work. And he said a few things. That their work is more corrective than it is constructive. Is that showing? Yes? There it is. Thank you. That design for them represents a total engagement with a problem, a process of working through to a solution that cannot be broken up, distributed, or merely supervised. As a set of objects, the consistency of the studio's output suggests the result of a project. So this really shocked us, actually, to think about our work as a project, which we hadn't considered. It is the continuity of that project, maintained so consistently and expressed at the level of form, which imparts to the studio's body of work such a high level of unity. Now, most people have attributed that, when journalists write about design, it's usually superficial, and they talk about minimalism or just style. It's talked about in terms of style, and of course that's not how we think about it. So we needed to express to GTF this idea of a continuous project, and that the last 15 years has been about finding the essence, the reason for things to exist, but within industrial structures. And the book, they said the book could operate like a film. This part of the visual narrative could operate like a film, where each page is part of a narrative that leads from one page to the other. So that you can see these are some of the early sketches, and then tests of the photos to see if it would actually work, what they came up with. And then a final shot on the left where it did work, in fact. All the visual narrative is, we selected about 50 projects of ours that we felt worthy of being reshot. So this was, all the narrative is all brand new photography. And it really begged the question to us, why make a book when all of our work is available already on the internet? What's the point? And we wanted something to be there that wasn't existing photography. We're very careful about our own photography. Of course, over years, Sam has taken most of our photography over years, and it's extensive, our archive, but I think that the narrative brings something else. So this is about the development of that narrative, the storyboarding of it, and just how detailed it became of placing things in, looking for color, eventually deciding where things could be shot. Everything in all of the photographs is our work, so there's nothing, I don't think there's a prop. There's not a prop. We actually used our work as a prop in some cases. And color. Yeah, color was eventually added as well and specified. And then for the printing as well. So these are some of the photo shoots, building sets to make the point. This was a point about a wireframe sofa we designed for Herman Miller. And Herman Miller has their own way of selling things, but we designed the sofa so that it could be taken apart and carried. One person could carry it up a flight of stairs in New York and get it through a doorway. And Herman Miller never exposed this as what it could do. So we wanted to communicate that in the photo shoot. This is the beginning of the book. The door opens, we've designed the door handle. At the bottom of that door is the door stopper that we designed for Droog. If you pull back, you can see the sofa is now in the door frame and built. And the back of it, but there's something at the bottom on the floor. And that's something else we've designed, which is our City in a Bag from Muji, a series. So when you see the narrative in the book, there are lots of connections which they tell a story. Sometimes it's compositional, sometimes it's thematic, but it's there to be discovered. It's about extensive photo shoots. Sam could cry about them if I let him. Trevor would know, he's here too. So these are tests, stand-ins and tests and lighting. Yeah, it's old school. Angela Moore works in a very old school way. She shot a lot of design. She's very particular about how to shoot it so that it's real, it's as undoctored as possible. Yeah, it's the real deal. I guess some of the things we do are very old school. Absolutely. Okay, and then the projects that are in this part of the narrative get much more extensive project notes, which means that we wanted to unveil what actually happens in projects, which isn't often talked about in design. There's a kind of mystery, again, that mystery, or a surface idea of what the things are. So this is one good example where Sam Hecht would get a phone call. 3 years in a row he got, an email from a CEO of Oluce in Italy, one of the best lighting companies in Italy. And the email would say, "Oh, Sam, it's time we work on a project together." And Sam Hecht would write back and say, "I'm sorry, but I think you have the wrong Sam." He'd say, "Oh, yes, sorry. Okay, I was looking for Sam Barron. I must have the wrong email." This happened, and the third year, the CEO said, "Look, obviously I'm supposed to be working with you. How about a project?" So this is how we literally got a lighting project with them. Yeah, so I think most designers don't talk about those things, and some of the stories are about business, some of the stories are about factories, some are about chance, things that happen like that. And these are about the conversations between collaborators, colleagues, curators, writers, and clients. Let's see if this works. Should work. Yes. These are the people, yeah. Friends, all of them, I would say. These are the sets. Stand-ins for how do we picture, then how do we include the conversationalists, the collaborators, how do we include them? We wanted to have people in the book, and so we did set pieces where the narrative led to the conversation. In this case, this leads to Dan Sudich, who's there with our Epson projector. Is it Epson? Yes. And our formwork behind. We got Dan's better side. There we go. And if you look at the bottom here, I've already shown this with the city in a bag, but if you look, there's Big Ben, and we found a way to get Bruce Mao in Big Ben in the book, and that leads to his conversation about us. So this section is about the editorial and graphic development with GTF and some photos of their studio and the collaboration with Paul and Carol, who are there with Sam. A lot of you know this process already, so I won't belabor it. Cover design and production. Phaidon, all publishers have in their contracts that they have the last say for what goes on the cover. And because I worked for publishers before, I know that sometimes at the last moment they switch it. I think you know that has happened. It's been known to happen. So we wanted to be sure that wouldn't happen for ours. And in the end, we decided Paul Neal proposed using illustration on the cover, which was a real departure for us. And convinced Phaidon to have 4 covers. Initially, it was slip-covered, and they said, no, that's impossible. And instead, it's wrapped in a paper in it, but the book actually has 4 covers. So if you undo your cover, there are 4 products. The production director was really on the case at Phaidon. It's something they don't normally do. Phaidon does 1 design book a year that is kind of their showpiece. They mostly sell a lot of cookbooks that are really amazing, but they invest in design and architecture. They don't do them. They generally lose money on all those books in those areas. I know that from being behind the scenes with them, but they do it to demonstrate what they can do. And we're really grateful they demonstrated it with our book. It was incredible attention that they gave it. And this is seeing the cover for the first time with Paul. So these are selected spreads with the original photography by Angela. And it was just a huge undertaking to have the brand new photography. Some of these you've seen already, actually. That's it.